This episode of the Red and White Podcast is brought to you by Nick Overcash at Prime Lending. If you're in the market for a new home, building a home and need a construction loan, or just refinancing, do yourself a favor and reach out to Nick. If you're just now starting to think about your options, talk to Nick. He's got the experience to get you the best solution for your situation. Everybody's situation is unique, and you need that experience. He's a Pack fan, and we have to support our own. And speaking of, if you mention this podcast, he'll support you by offering you $500 off your closing costs. That's a win for you. That's a win for Nick. That's a win for the podcast. So check out nickovercash.com or call him at 919-854-4457. You can ask him financial questions or just talk to him about Wolfpack football. Either way, he'll be just as happy to talk to you. All right, folks, we're back with another edition of the Red and White Podcast, the post-holiday edition. Dustin, hope you had a good holiday.
I did. I hope you did as well. Hope everybody else did.
Yeah, it's been snowy around here, or icy. I don't know what it is. Supposed to be 60 today, so I guess we're back to normal. That was a short winter.
Yeah, there's a pond outside my apartment that's been frozen over for about 2 weeks. Enough so that people went out and rode on it and whatnot.
Did they really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Crazy,
I was kind of hoping they'd fall in, but evolution, what are you going to do?
Well, college football season is over. I don't know how many people stayed up and watched the game. That was the 8 o'clock start, man. Brutal.
It was, but if they didn't extend halftime, it'd be a lot better,
Oh, dude, halftimes are awful. I was talking about this last night. I am just anti-halftime. 20 to 30 minutes. I don't even know how long the one was last night. Just for nonsense. Like, take a 10-minute break at most and come back out in the field. Let's get this thing going. It completely changes some of these games. Like, I think, watching that game last night, Georgia was just dominating that first half. And the body language and everything was just Georgia was going to win this game. Second half, completely different. They all had to sit around and watch Kendrick Lamar for 30 minutes. Awful.
That's part of it, man. You get to make adjustments. I mean, I don't know that you need that long to do it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Final AP poll. I'm just going to skip around here on our notes, but final AP poll. Pack just came out a few minutes ago, and NC State's number 23. And ahead of Virginia Tech, so suck it, Coastal, and Virginia Tech fans. But I think we could have been anywhere in that 11 to 25 range. I mean, you're just looking at it, all those teams are about the same. I don't think anybody's that much better or that much worse than anybody else. The one you just pointed out a second ago before we start recording, South Carolina not being ranked, I thought was a bit strange, but maybe it's just because of how they ended the season.
Wait, didn't they beat Michigan?
Lost. Did they beat Michigan?
It was like a big comeback, right?
Michigan other way around?
I don't know. Everybody can wait while I look this up. I swear that Michigan had a big lead, and
I think it was the other way around.
Who's going to find it first? Yeah, 26-19.
26-19, South Carolina. You're right. Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know. I mean, they got spanked by Clemson, so I guess that's it. But you would think winning that bowl game over Michigan would have put them in. But
a win over Michigan's not a big thing anymore, though. Harbaugh. I think he's on the hot seat this next year, isn't he?
I don't know. They were talking about giving him a lifetime contract about halfway through this year.
Yeah.
He just needs to get it together. I don't know what it is. I don't think he's found his guys yet, and I don't know. It's been interesting. The quick Michigan rumor that I heard most recently, and this was before Finley announced he was coming back, which we'll talk about, but if Finley was going pro, that Wilton Spate, who's an NC State legacy, his grandfather or somebody played here a long time ago, Wilton Spate was going to transfer from Michigan to NC State. And I know we were on him early back when he originally committed to Michigan. I just random little note there. I think Michigan's probably using him wrong, and I think he's not fitting into what Harbaugh wants and that's probably why he's just struggled. I mean, they can't get an offense going. The defense has been pretty good for the last few years, but offensively it's just been awful. I don't know. What you got about that game last night? Did you watch it?
I did. I mean, it was. There were a lot of people bitching, not wanting the SEC on SEC game, but I thought it was a really good game. Hell, I enjoyed it.
It was a really good game.
I think I don't know that there's a coach in the country that would make a quarterback change in the national championship like Saban did. I mean, that was ballsy. That was very ballsy.
Super ballsy.
Tua's good though. I mean, he had some playing time this year in garbage time. Threw a pick 6 against Tennessee, by the way. Yeah, I mean he sparked. I'm still not sure that it was the quarterback as much as it was the offensive play calling in the first half. But
yeah.
Either way, apparently they didn't feel comfortable trying to throw the ball with Jalen Hurts. But yeah, that kid's going to be really good, and it's
he's going to be good.
I mean, you look at them, and they're going to have better quarterback play next year because there's no way Hurts gets to start again.
Man, that's tough. Man, Hurts
he was SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year.
I mean, basically, he's a running back at quarterback, though. I think that's the problem. And I don't know if I guess I wasn't paying that close of attention to nitpick the Alabama play calling, and I don't know Alabama that well, but I don't know if it was play calling. I just think that offense has been like that all year. I have watched them quite a bit just because they're always on TV, but and I just don't think they're that dynamic of an offense. And Georgia's actually a pretty good defense, and I think that gave them a little bit of trouble when you're kind of one-dimensional and you just sit back there and they know what they're going to try to do, and it's going to be RPOs to Jalen Hurts, and he's going to take it and run 75% of the time. And I don't think that was good enough. So I can't believe he made that change. I can't believe he made that change when he did in the national title game, but he did it, man. That's like you said on Twitter. That's why he's the greatest.
Yeah. Do you know who said or talked about a quarterback change on Twitter right after the first half?
Who was that?
It was me, the prophet. We'll touch on the prophet later, but the play calling and quarterback versus quarterback, Hurts was 3 for 8 in the first half, so they only attempted 8 passes. Second half, 2 of 14 for 24. Now that's situational, them being down and they want to be the power run the ball type team, but they needed to call some passes before then, and it wouldn't have been as close as it was last night in overtime.
That's one of those stats that I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion because Alabama not strictly, but the majority of their plays are RPOs. So Jalen Hurts is making that call whether or not they're going to run or throw, and he's going to default to running because that's what he's really good at.
Yeah, and if you don't have a quarterback that's comfortable, if that's on him, if he's not comfortable to make the right call, then they got to get him out,
Yeah, and that's what they did. But I don't know if it was play calling. I think it was his judgment is which has kind of pigeonholed Alabama's offense.
They give him the option for that, but they can also stress which way it's supposed to lean.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But
they could have, because it was the same situation with Tua. I mean, he gets the same kind of freedom when he's in there, but he made the right calls.
Right.
He passed, and they if they were going to leave Jalen in that long, they had to have a talk with him or something. But I'm not sure that they wanted him to throw, because even when Saban came out after halftime,
I don't know.
He said, we feel more comfortable with Tua throwing the ball, so that's why he's in.
I was really impressed with Tua's pocket presence. I mean, the way he moved around and kind of bought extra time for his wide receivers, I was really impressed with that. And it wasn't just scrambling, but just moving around, getting the throwing lane and opening those plays up, and I think that's something that Hurts probably doesn't do very well. If you're Hurts, do you transfer?
That's tough, man. I don't know where he would fit in well other than an SEC team. And he's not going to be able to transfer there. And his arm isn't great. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays and they figure out a way to get him on the field other than the quarterback position.
Right.
I mean, that might be his best scenario, but he's been there 2 years. Do you really want to transfer and sit out a year now?
He is. This is weird. This is gonna be a weird statement. He is exactly what Dave Dorn wants in a quarterback. I think Dave Dorn wants a guy who's gonna run it and pound it and just take the beating and running the ball. Jordan Lynch style. I think that's what he needs to go somewhere where they're comfortable with that, and that's what they want to do. I think he could find a place, but I doubt he leaves Alabama. I don't know why he would, other than playing
that.
time.
And he showed a lot of maturity the way he handled it, even during the game, after the game.
He was. So. I was impressed. Yeah, he wasn't pouting at all. But, they were down, and he got pulled. And he was still smiling and hanging around the quarterbacks and. I don't know. That was impressive to me.
How about Tua taking that sack in overtime and then just coming out and slinging it after that? I mean, that's a set of nuts, So that's all I got left to say about him. That was not a true freshman who's getting the most play time that he's had all year type of play.
The interception he threw before that was the freshman in him. That throw at the end of the game, I mean, that was a thing of beauty, man. That was a rope right on target in stride. Oh.
And that's the first half, Jalen Hurts overthrew a guy wide open in the end zone, So, that's what you get. Anyway.
Yeah, last week we talked Georgia football. This week now we're on Bama football.
Well, it's just championship. Yeah, it's over. No more football for a while now, so. Anyway, how well did you pick the playoff?
Oh God, I was awful. I was so bad. Thankfully, I forgot to bet on most of those games. I wasn't really paying attention, and I didn't. I did get the over last night as my kind of my opposite pick for no rhyme or reason. I told Dustin to take
I was
the
so
over.
pissed off. I picked the semifinal perfectly. I picked the championship game perfectly down to how much Alabama would win by with Georgia still covering. And if Alabama had made the field goal at the end of regulation, I would have got the under. But instead, overtime happens. So I was a missed field goal away from being have a perfect run in the playoff. But that's why they call me the prophet, So no one calls me that other than myself, but
I will say that I'm happy that Alabama won for one reason, and it's that kicker. I would have felt miserable if he missed that kick and they end up losing. I don't know what it is, but that just always
that would have been rough.
Gut-wrenching.
Especially missing two.
Especially in Alabama. I mean, Bambar takes heat in Raleigh. Imagine what happens for those
he may have transferred after that. That might have been for safety reasons. But
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, finish up football. State bowl game.
Yeah, state bowl game. State beats the crap out of Arizona State. Arizona State came a little close to the end. It was basically against the second team, though. I was impressed, man. The guys were prepared, and that's been the trend for Dave Dorn, at least in the bowl games, is that they've been prepared. They've been ready to play. They've had a good game plan. I thought Drink called an awesome game. Hines was Hines. I mean, I don't know what you can say. It was fantastic. I have no problem with Chubb sitting out. I know that was the topic of conversation. It gives the other guys a chance to play, and Chubb was engaged. Nobody seems to, they didn't seem to care that he wasn't there.
They knew they could win without him too. I think that was a big reason why he sat out.
I kind of feel Arizona State was semi-checked out given the coaching turmoil. We talked about that beforehand with the lame duck coach, which is really strange. I don't know. I was happy with it, man. I thought Finley looked really good. He was really under control, and you could see why he's starting to build a little bit of hype about him, and why people were concerned that he was going to go pro, because he had that look of a quarterback that could succeed in the NFL. He's tall, under control. He's making smart decisions, and he got a lot of attention from that game from people who were watching. And I had random text messages from non-state fans like, "Man, that quarterback, he's something else." And you look at the numbers, and he's on pace to do be second to none. I mean, he might not catch Phil Rivers, but Phil played 4 years every game, and Finley's putting up hell of numbers. I don't know. What do you think of the bowl game?
Win as expected. If it had been close, I would have been pissed off. I mean, you said something about typical with Dorn in bowl games. Like, the only game that's really been bad is the Mississippi State game.
And that was a tough matchup.
Yeah, and bad weather. The guy that's good enough to start a quarterback for the Cowboys. So,
yeah,
he was like a once in a generation player. So, other than that, I mean, like you said, bowl games are going pretty well. This one was a weird situation. So, we should have won. We did. It's time to look forward to next year with Finley back. We should have a strong year, maybe. A lot to replace, but what's your we'll end football on this. What's your guess on the win total next year?
I think that the offense next year is going to be really good. I'm going to assume Hines comes back because he should come back, and I think he will. And I suspect they might slide him into the kind of Jalen Samuels role, doing a little bit of everything. But I think the offense, I mean, you got a glimpse of what the offense could do this year. I mean, do next year in that bowl game. I mean, they put up 52 points without really trying in that second half. I mean, that was a clinic, and Harmon and all these guys are coming back, and Finley coming back, and the pieces for the offense will be there. And you add in another potential running back, Ricky Person. I think he might get some run. I think the offense can be really good. So I don't know. I don't even know what the schedule is. I'll say 8 wins, probably being conservative.
Is that counting a bowl or?
No, not counting the bowl game. I would say 9 wins. I think if you... I'm just going to pull the schedule up while we're here. 2018. JMU at home. That's tough. That's a tough game. They're really good. I'm not sure what they're losing and whatnot. Georgia State. West Virginia. West Virginia's here, so that's a good one. And then at Marshall. That could be an interesting game. Again, Pac plays better on the road, so I'm not so concerned about that. The home ACC games are Boston College, FSU, Wake Forest, and then cross division is Virginia, Clemson, Louisville, Syracuse, North Carolina. To be honest, I don't see any of those games that say, hey, we can't win. I would suspect Florida State's going to be better under Taggart, but you really don't know. What are they going to do at quarterback? Clemson's got to get a little bit more than they're kind of one-dimensional on offense. They might lose a lot on defense. They still sign, the recruiting classes are ridiculous. So it's hard to say. But we play them well historically, although it's on the road. So we'll probably count that as a loss. Somebody asked about Louisville. We'll get into that a little bit later. I don't know. I'll say with 8 wins, 9 with the bowl game. It's reasonable.
Yeah, I'm thinking with a bowl win, we get to 8. I don't see that this team can be better.
It's hard to tell right now.
Or next year's team can be better than this one. I'm not sure. I think Florida State takes a step back up. Francois will be back. Mm-hmm. That Taggart offense could pose us a few problems, not knowing it well. And Clemson's just got our number. I don't know. I don't expect us to go there and get a win. So we'll see.
Sure.
I would go 7 regular, 8 with a win, which would be slightly disappointing after this year, I guess. But just an initial guess. We'll get it in 6 months. Get into that more. So.
Yeah, my thinking is the offense is going to be really good. Finley's going to be the best quarterback coming back in the league next year. And I think that just kind of outlines what the offense could be. I mean, arguably, you can make a case that Hines will be the best back coming back next year, and Harmon the best wide receiver coming back. Those are realistic statements. realistic arguments at least. And I'm coming around. This is a weird kind of diversion, but my way of thinking has changed over the years. From I'm not as concerned about the defense, and the reason being is that as long as the defense doesn't give up, constantly give up big plays, I think it's just too easy to score in college offenses right now that you don't have to have a shutout to win games, right? I think the offenses are going to dictate success, and I think ours is going to be really good. So that's where I'm thinking. That's why I'm giving us the benefit of the doubt. We could be on par with this season.
All right, well, that brings football to an end.
Oh, so sad.
All right, we'll be back with diving into a bipolar basketball team.
Picture this. Your buddy's a Falcons fan. You're a Panthers fan. You go to trashtalktext.com, and once a day for 2 weeks at a random time, he gets a text reminding him the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. That's quality entertainment. Check out trashtalktext.com and send your friends anonymous trash talk about their favorite team. As always, if you're interested in learning more about sponsoring the podcast or our sponsors themselves, check out redandwhitepodcast.com/sponsors. All right, folks, it's basketball time. As Dustin said, this team is bipolar.
We've talked about it and said that's what it was going to be, though. So
it is. It's exactly what we said this year. We're going to lose some games that we probably shouldn't, and we're going to win some games that we probably shouldn't. And that's basically what's happened right now. Lost to Clemson, didn't play well, got spanked at Notre Dame, even though they're without their two best players. And then come home and beat Duke. And that Duke game wasn't a fluke. They actually outplayed Duke. And I don't know. What do you got? I have no idea. That
was a career game out of Yurt. That kind of came out of nowhere. That helped a lot. Everybody played well. Beverly played well to be a true freshman in your first game against Duke, and you have that kind of game. I mean, we had good point guard play from starting and bench position, so it just kind of all came together. I mean, I wouldn't expect that to be a normal thing. I mean, but they showed what they can do if they play the right way. I don't know what else to say other than Al Freeman not running the offense through him allowed us to win,
I think the key, not even running the offense through him, but not making him feel like he had to be the offense. I'm okay with him. He was, everybody's pointing out, he's been 4 for 12 in that game, but he took good shots. He wasn't forcing things up. He was getting to the line, those sorts of things. And I think the key, and I tweeted this out after the game, that I was really impressed by the coaching job that Keats did reining him in, because it could have gone off the rails with Freeman taking 20, 30 shots a game as he was in the losses versus he took 12 shots kind of under control, played within the system, and got the balls to the big guys. We've said this all year. This team is not a great shooting team, so you got to go with your bigs. And when you have Omer and Leonard and Abu playing really well and playing really efficient, getting them the ball was just so clutch. They just need to keep doing that.
See, I think Keats did a good job getting him under. I think he did a good job getting him under wraps there. But I also feel like this was an obvious problem going back to the Greensboro game. Freeman shooting too much. And it should have been, reined back before the Duke game. But, I'm glad it happened then. But my buddy Prince sent me stats that he just sat down and nerded out on pre-Duke. So Duke game not included in these. Al Freeman had shot the ball 71 more times than Torin Dorn, but Dorn had 3 more made baskets. You figure out that percentage. Omier had 90 fewer shots, same amount of field goals made. I get that he's an inside shooter, but he took high percentage shots, and that's what Freeman had to do.
Yeah.
Leonard Freeman, much fewer shot. I don't know the exact number, but only 6 fewer baskets. Stat-wise, he's shot 27% in losses, 39% in wins. And the 5 games pre-Duke, he shot 32%. So it was kind of, if he was on, we could win. If he's off, we lose. And he's shooting 76% from the line, so that's not bad. That's good. But that Duke game, that's not a win if he goes and takes 20, 25 shots. And it's that simple.
Well, in that Duke game, he was 4 for 12, so he's 30%. And so that's, it's right in line with what he is. I'm not going to hate him, the guy shooting, 12, 15 shots. I think that's fine. When he's shooting, I think they had a game where he shot 20-some shots. That's a lot, especially when they're not going in. And anybody's played basketball, and there's those guys that shoot a lot, and I'm one of them. When I play, I shoot a lot, right? It's just one of those things you do if you feel like you're going to make them all. And I think he's got that mentality, but Keith's being able to rein him in. I think we're starting to see that, and hopefully that continues. Otherwise, again, we're going to see the pattern we talked about where it's going the wrong direction.
Right.
But if he plays within that system, he can take 12 shots, and I'm okay with him shooting 30%. That's what he's going to do, because his game is still, like you said, getting to the line, getting inside, and making other things happen. And to be honest, he's probably one of our better 3-point shooters. So, take the shots. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for us to spread the floor and get those big guys that involved in the game. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But he's got to shoot, maybe not shoot as much, and he's got to know when he's not playing well that he's got to give the ball up. I think that's probably the biggest part. It's situational.
Yeah, and I'm good with the 12 shots too. That's fine. But you have to know, if they're not going in, don't take more than 12 shots. It might take 12 shots to figure that out.
That's the
but
frustrating.
You can't keep with that shoot mentality if it's not working. So
that's exactly right. You got to know when to put it in the holster for sure.
Other than that, big game against Clemson for the second time in a couple of weeks now. It's going to be a tough game. Clemson's good. Brad Brownell finally getting it together. So, that'd be a big win. They have Virginia after that. So, you get 2 games out of those first 5. I suppose that's all right. I don't think this is a tourney team. I don't think it's fair to expect them to be, really. I think the NIT is acceptable. Shout out NIT Stan. So.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think that's kind of what I expected. I don't think it's out of the question. I think it would be a nice bonus. The out-of-conference schedule is really going to hurt us. And then, but when they beating Arizona, beating Duke, and assuming you don't go, 4-12 in the conference or whatever the number's going to be, I think that gives them a shot having quality wins. But you got to win some more games. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If
they win 7 more games, then they get to 18, and that's with 7 conference wins or 8 conference wins. There might be an argument there, but it's going to be tough, and it might be hard to get those seven more wins too. But overall, the better Coach K was ours Saturday. So
that was great. It was really. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing our guys, like our backcourt, play better than their backcourt. And Duke gets out there and just starts chucking threes, and when they have a team that's not really a good 3-point shooting team, it really makes me
I really did hate to see Grayson Allen have a bad game too. That's broke my heart, especially with Tay calling him out.
Yeah, he did. It was weird. He was super passive. Super passive.
Anyway, we'll focus more on basketball after this week now that football's done. But it's gonna be. I don't know. I couldn't tell you how it'll end. So I
love watching. And for those who don't know, I'm sure most State fans who are listening to this probably know. The guy, Taylor Adams, who did the one series on YouTube for football, is doing Hustle for the basketball. And I think it's really good. I think everybody should watch it. And it kind of goes through the emotions there of these games. And I really like Kevin Keatts after the game. And somebody pointed out to us on Twitter that after the game, everybody is still jacked up, and he's got his stats in his hand, and he's still like coaching. He's like, "Hey guys, this is we share the ball, you do these things, and you start rattling off stats, and this is why you win." And so he's coaching the whole time, and I really like that. I think it's really well done. Again, they need to extend this. Don't bring back the old culture show. This is much better. We got a few questions from the people. It's kind of a mixed bag here. Michael C., I'll ask you this one. Louisville without Lamar Jackson next year, how good or how bad will they be? He seemed to be their entire offense.
Very bad. I think. I forget the number. I saw it during their bowl game, but Petrino's record at Louisville against ranked teams is absolutely awful. And that's with Lamar Jackson. So I can't. I'm not a believer in Petrino. I know you had more faith in him than me from the Arkansas stint, but I just don't see it other than he got lucky in getting Lamar Jackson to come to Louisville. I mean, think about what the past 3 years would have been there if they didn't have him. I just don't see it, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and
they pissed it away.
It doesn't normally go well when you try to replace that guy.
No.
So, assume all the assistant football coaches are staying another year. As far as I know, I've heard some chatter. I think it's probably died down by now. I don't even know if they've hired him, but Florida's going after Kevin Patrick, the defensive line coach. He's a Florida guy. I think he's from Miami. And so I think they were making a run to him, but they had other guys on their list. So I'm not sure what happened there. So I don't think so. I'm a bit surprised. I thought some teams would come after Drink. I would assume the dust has settled from the coaching changes now that signing day is gone and the bowls are over. But we may still see some movement, but I don't suspect us to be involved right now, which is probably a good thing.
On the assistant coaching deal, I don't know if you remember Drew Hughes that was at State.
Yeah.
And left to go to Florida. Went to work with Muschamp and then stayed after Muschamp left. But Tennessee just hired him, so he's just staying around the Southeast, but doing well. Big recruiter for Florida. So we were going to have trouble. I'm just saying, but the SEC would have been coming for him whether it was Florida or not. So just interesting to see how guys' careers progress, leaving here to Florida and then leaving Florida for a rival. But
if I'm not mistaken, Hughes was the one responsible for NC State needs ballers, you equal baller, written on the picture that got tweeted around for a while. I'm pretty sure that was him. So good luck to Tennessee there. NIT stand bacon? ? Of course, always bacon.
Yeah, I'm a fan of bacon. Never had a problem with it.
Pro bacon. This is a pro bacon podcast.
Pork Patrol, man. That's what State's about.
Although Nice's sausages is underrated for breakfast meats.
Nice's is good. There's a local in Bass Farm around here.
That was pretty good too, yeah.
So anyway, now that we discussed our pork.
Underrated. Yeah. Underrated podcast. Question: is Pac Nation okay giving Keatts 7 to 10 years to get the program to a solid place? I'm okay losing the crap games for now, but if we play down to this was before a Duke game too. If it will pay off down the road, I guess you got a typo. At some point when you got to buy into a coach for the long haul and hope it works out. See, I don't think anybody's thinking any different. I don't think the program's unstable. We've had a pretty good run the last few years. I think elevating it is probably the word I'd look for in regards to where the basketball program can be. And so far, Keatts hasn't done anything on or off the court to suggest that State fans would be unhappy otherwise. I mean, I think he's been a refreshing breath of fresh air on a lot of matters, especially with the product he's putting on the court. So 7 to 10 years, sure, sign him up now, and I'll be fine with that.
7 to 10 years is a long time.
Dude, Herb got 10 years.
Yeah, and he took us to the tournament almost every year. I think you have to do a first real evaluation maybe at the end of year 3. Like,
sure,
his third team should be making the tournament, and then it should be a consistent tournament team from there on out. I'm not saying we should win a national title, but state basketball has history. It should be in the tournament every year. It shouldn't be that hard. But 7 to 10, no. I think if there's a problem after year 5, you really got to start evaluating it.
I think that's fair. There will be some things that'll stand out. I was just saying, as of now, there's nothing that would tell me otherwise.
No, I feel comfortable with where it's at. So.
Yeah. Recruiting has to keep going well. All these things have to keep going well. And you're assuming you don't have any of these red flags popping up. So, and I agree. And I think that was the underlying thought with Dave Doran extension and all that jazz, is stability. And we're finally starting to get some of that in our athletic departments. And you've seen, I think we were number 9 in the Directors Cup. That's the highest we've ever been, highest of any of the ACC schools. So stability in all these positions and good hires is important. And got to give credit to Debbie Howe. What she's doing.
Yeah, and it's baffling to me the amount of people that still bitch and moan about her. When have we been in a better spot?
It's such bullshit, and the people that do it are still part of that. Bobby Purcell should have had this job. Group. It's still there. It's still that underlying faction of people that are, oh, she's bad for this job. You don't know. I just don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I think our programs are almost all universally better than where they were.
Numbers don't lie, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's that simple.
I mean, it goes down to women's volleyball. I mean, they've never made the NCAA tournament. They made it the second round this year. Like, little things like that. I mean, it trickles all the way down. And I think she's fine, man. I've been really happy with her. She's the best athlete we've had in 30 years at least.
Yeah.
Finally some leadership. Speaking of, I want to make sure we get this in, and I'll let you talk about it. You tweeted at Debbie Howe. Let's talk about Carolina. I'll set it up a little bit. Carolina is removing how many thousand seats from their stadium, football stadium?
Close to 10, isn't it, I think?
10,000 seats.
Close there, yeah.
How are they going to tell me that they had 60,000 at their spring game?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that they had 60,000 there really all year. Did they?
I have no idea.
Maybe against us? I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure one of their school colors is aluminum. So, I mean, that's a smart call for them because they're, putting seat backs in as opposed to just bleacher seats and then charging $6 more a ticket. I'm not sure that you increase the amount of people coming by charging more for the tickets, but it also helps eliminate some of that, empty metal on TV. That's a bad look. So,
yeah, I'm not opposed to smaller stadiums. I mean, I think you're in college, smaller stadiums are cool. You can have that kind of intimate, exclusive feeling. But
it's
when
program
you're
dependent,
when you're actively retracting seats, though, I think that's a bad look. And I think there's an opportunity here. Why don't you elaborate on that opportunity and what Debbie Howe said to you?
Oh, she didn't say anything to me. I tweeted at her. I'm like, hey, and I said add 500 to 1,000 seats. But I mean, it's like we were talking earlier. If you add 10, then you've got the narrative to spin. Hey, you're out recruiting. It's like, yeah, we're adding seats. That's where our program's going. They're taking 10,000 away. I mean, they gave us a recruiting tool right there. Even if we don't add seats, we can still use it. We sell out games.
Yeah.
They're taking seats away.
We were talking before we recorded. You add one seat, and all you can say, "Hey, we're adding seats," and they're taking them away. I mean, you gotta know that the assistant coaches are going to be leveraging that.
Yeah,
I mean, in Carolina, they just took 10,000 seats out of the stadium because nobody shows up. They don't give a shit.
And that goes right back to them just waiting around for basketball. I mean, that's
right.
We have to use that, and I think we are.
Right.
So, any advantage?
The reason I was bringing this up though is she was talking about the facility upgrade. You want to mention that?
Say what now?
Debbie Yow's response to you.
I never saw there was a response.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you want me to mention it. Hang on. I will pull it up. So, Dustin tags Debbie in this tweet, and she responds, "Just so you know, our next football project will be updating our Murphy Sports Medicine unit with the latest modalities, $2.5 million. Somebody goes on, "Please do something about the East Side. Carla Finley, no change in 50 years. And she says again, "Wolfpack staff will undertake new projects as they can. All of us know the East Side needs upgrades. Both that the staff and athletic department are still paying off other facility projects. It will happen eventually." So that she responded to you that
it's not happening this year, basically.
I bet they go out and put a seat in. I will make that bet right now. They put at least one seat in.
I will build a wooden seat to give to them. Just to have that.
Right. There's a seat somewhere that's going to go in. I'm almost sure of it, just for the fact that we can say it. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah. So they're aware of it. They're expanding on different projects. They're going to work on the Murphy Center, which is 10 years old now. It's kind of surprising, but anyway, miscellaneous stuff we got. Matt Canada out at LSU.
Baffling, man.
Is Canada Watch over? People want to know.
I think Canada Watch now is, where does he go next? I'm not going to cut the people short. They want to know. So that's a disaster down there. There's a problem from assistant coaches all the way to Joe Oliva, the AD there.
Yeah.
If you're going to make him the highest paid coordinator in the country, you cannot fire him a year later.
So there was
their offense was better.
Yeah. There's some my LSU friends were talking to me about that situation as soon as it started happening, and apparently Ogeron didn't want to hire Canada, but Oliva basically forced his hand. And when that sort of happens, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's why we heard all those rumors about Coach O having his hand in Canada's offense and all that infighting they were doing. So there's a little bit to that. Bad hire, I won't say bad hire, but bad
fit.
Bad fit. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, bad fit. I think there's got to be a little bit of ego involved. I mean, this is not the first time we've heard these things about Matt Canada, and he's interviewed for a lot of, secondary level head coaching jobs, group of 5, I guess, and hadn't gotten one yet. I'm sure he'll find another job. Guy knows some offense, but he's not without his issues. Interesting.
People often have trouble interacting with geniuses. I mean, that's been the case for all of mankind, for as far as we can look back. So I get it. Some people, he might just be too good for this world, and we just can't find a fit for him.
You can empathize with that, right?
I really can. They call me the prophet,
Some other news: state football got a commitment from Southern Cal transfer. I think he's at a community college, but he was a USC commit at one point. Our tight end, Kerry Angeline, that'll help. He's more of a pass-catching back. We're not used to those guys. We're used to the George Bryans pass-catching tight end. We're used to the bigger blocking tight ends, but this guy will provide a little bit of different dynamic to the offense. It'll be interesting to see. He's coming in eligible right away.
He goes in that J-Sam role, man.
Yeah, he does. A little bit more tight end-ish, but I know that'll make our friend of the program, James, happy. He's always screaming for the tight end to catch some balls. But, George Bryan, Cole Cook, I can't even remember who else we've had. Willie Wrights, those kind of tight ends. Draft deadline, January 15th. Nyheim Hines coming back. Take a guess.
I would think so, yeah. I think he does himself a disservice if he doesn't.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he comes back. There's no reason for him to go pro, especially with Finley coming back. Richardson, I think Richardson is going pro. He had a fantastic year.
Yeah, I don't know that he gains much by staying, as opposed to the Hines situation. Once you prove yourself as an O-lineman, you can only go downhill from there. So I'd probably bolt if I were in.
Yeah, and I think he does. I think if anybody goes early, it's going to be him. Interesting. We had a question about it, and I didn't pull it up. What do you think Jalen McClendon does?
I mean, he's here now. It doesn't make sense to leave after this many years.
But he's graduated. He can go play immediately somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he should leave. I didn't realize he had graduated. So.
He has graduated. Yeah, I would totally understand if he did leave.
Yeah, he deserves a chance to play somewhere.
Sure. I could see him going to something like a JMU or anywhere, right? I think he's good enough. He was highly recruited out of high school. So if he left, I'd understand that. I don't think I want him to leave. I don't think you ever want a guy who's your backup quarterback to leave. That's never good.
If he leaves, then Larry doesn't redshirt, which is an issue, I would think, right?
Probably.
So I'd rather.
I guess in theory he doesn't redshirt, but if Finley makes it through the year, O'Leary doesn't have to burn his red shirt, so to speak. And you can always redshirt farther down the line.
Yeah, so I would still rather have a backup that we can get in to get a few snaps every once in a while in case something goes bad late in the season, though. So
yeah, I'm always into that, but we've never really done that. Tom O'Brien didn't do it. Dave Doran hadn't really done it. So I don't know how realistic that is. What else we got? Groomers. Groomers is no more. Groomers. John Gruden has a job with the Las Vegas Raiders.
$10 million.
Are you a Raiders fan
for
now?
10 years. I mean,
not bad, right?
I would have left too. And Groomers will be back because Jeremy Pruitt will leave Tennessee after he wins the title there and go back to Alabama, and then John will come home to Knoxville. So it's not over yet.
They're going to completely forget about Dabo over there in Clemson.
He'll turn it down. Pruitt will leave Knoxville, go back, and then here comes Gruden riding in on a chariot. So it's just a matter of time. Never give up hope.
Never. Speaking of never giving up hope, Panthers fans, they fired their offensive coordinator. The hot name to replace him, I'm sure astute Wolfpack fans will loathe this name as much as I do, Norv Turner.
All right, so Shula had to be fired. That offense has been terrible since he got there.
So bad.
Norv Turner is probably not the answer. I would rather go back out and hire Chud. He's not doing anything. Or Chudzinski that left. He was the OC with the Panthers, left to take the head coaching job with the Browns, which was his biggest life mistake. So he's just sitting out there doing nothing now. I would take him before Norv Turner. I don't know.
Norv Turner is so bad.
I think it would be better than we imagine. Those Charger offenses were good. They just couldn't win a game because I don't know.
I single-handedly blame him for ruining Phillip Rivers' best shot at Super Bowl. He took a 14-4 team and made them 6-8 or whatever the hell they were that year. I was so mad.
Yeah. But I mean, in a coordinator role, it wouldn't be as bad. But he's close to 70 years old. I think he's up there. Get some kid on the rise that's gonna, bond with the offense itself and give that a shot. I just don't. They could do better. But Rivera likes people he's friendly with, so.
Yeah, it's weird. NFL's so weird with their coaches, man. One other thing, random thought I had before we get out of here. And I know a lot of State fans are just kind of the same way. I was sitting there watching the Panthers this weekend. I'm not necessarily a Panthers fan. I pull for them because all my friends do. But I'm pulled for more of the State guys. I want the State guys to do well. So, Chargers fan, right? I wanted, for the longest time, he was the only State guy in the NFL that you could really follow. So I pulled for the Chargers and Phil Rivers. But now we're getting a lot of guys in the NFL. I'm not sure who to pull for anymore. What am I going to do?
Man, you got to pull for your team. You hope they do well, but you got to pick a team and go with it. I can't stand that.
I agree with you. I just don't know who to pick. I don't know who I'm going to follow. I mean, I guess the Panthers because everybody else does, but I don't really care.
It's got to be the state you were born or where you live now. I'm a firm believer in that. You can hope those other teams do well, but there's no reason that you see a shit ton of Seahawk jerseys here now or hear a bunch of Seahawks fans just because Russell Wilson plays there. That's ridiculous. And you can't say that it was just bandwagon stuff because that it was only because of the players, because people didn't go out and buy Mike Glenn and Tampa Bay Buck jerseys, and he gave as much to this school, if not more, than Russell Wilson did. So no, it's not the whole. I'm just supporting. No, people want the Seahawks won. He was there. They jumped on the train. That train's derailed now, and I love it.
See, I wouldn't do that. I'd pick a team that would suck, or it's not a front runner. I pull for the Colts. I want Jacoby to win. I've been thinking about picking the Raiders just because they're going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, but I think that's too easy.
Yeah, they're good too. They're a good coach away from winning big. So, and they got the Messiah now. So,
yeah. I don't know. It's a good problem to have. State's putting a lot of guys in the NFL, so I get to pay attention to a lot of them. But I know there's a lot of State fans that do the same.
You just
thing.
Get an NFL shield hat
default. Legit, my favorite blanket from when I was growing up, it was the old school NFL, and there was 12 teams on it.
That's tough.
It's legit. Yeah, my 3-year-old's got it now. All right, that's all I got. We all over the place, but I have no idea how long this is. I don't really care. But anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, folks, stay warm, and we'll see you soon. Go Pack.
Go Pack.